Welcome back, college football fans, to another episode of Over the Middle. As always, we're brought to you by our friends at YourView. YourView is your home for the best high school football games across the country. If you're playing high school football this season, then YourView has you covered from one end to the country to the other. Tune in to your local YourView station. Plus, Cox TV customers can now watch the games free anywhere using the Contour app. Download the Cox Contour app on the Apple App Store and on Google Play. Or you can do like I do, head over to watch.yourview.com and sign up for the best games around. This includes YourView's Game Time Arizona. It's back October 2nd at 7 p.m. Mountain Time next Friday night. Tune in or log into the app or to the station and watch the top two programs in Arizona battle. It's Centennial versus Hamilton. And as our guests will tell you about in a few minutes, those are two of the best high school football programs, not just in the state of Arizona, but in the country. They've won 7 state championships each, and they're both loaded with high-level FBS talent. It should be a great way to kick off YourView's Arizona's season-long coverage. But there are other great games, including the Ford game of the week in Oklahoma. It's Perennial Power's Broken Arrow at Jinx. Then on YourView Omaha, it's Millard North versus Omaha West Side. And finally, YourView Louisiana. I love on Louisiana high school football. They kick off their season-long coverage with Acadiana versus Lafayette Christian. All three of those matchups are at 7 p.m. Central Time on Friday, October 2nd. So don't forget to tune in to your local YourView station, download the Contour app, or log on to watch.yourview.com. For those new to the podcast, I'm your host, Jeremy Crabtree, and I've spent the last 25 years, yes, 25 years, covering college football recruiting at Rivals.com, ESPN, and now I'm at my current gig at KMBC 9 News in Kansas City. And here Over the Middle, we do things a little bit differently. We like to dive into the world where college football, high school football, and recruiting intersect. And we're now 4 weeks deep into the college football season, and there's been plenty to digest this already. The Big Ten is back. And by the time you listen to this podcast, the MAC should or could be back. More games have either been canceled or delayed. Sorry, Baylor. And we've seen high school programs across the country continue to either have their teams go into quarantine, have games postponed, or have their seasons canceled outright. There's no question the coronavirus has had an impact on college football and the world of recruiting, unlike anything we've ever seen before. And that's why we're going to continue to dig deep into the impact COVID-19 has had on the world of recruiting. We've talked to K-State's Taylor Bratt, Michigan's Matt Dudek, and Akron's Oscar Rodriguez about how they're handling recruiting efforts during a pandemic. But we thought we'd take a deeper dive and talk with somebody that's had their season shut down for quite a while now. I'm excited and honored to be joined by Cody Moore, Arizona football Senior Director of Recruiting and High School Relations. Cody, welcome into Over the Middle.
Thanks, Jeremy. I appreciate you guys having me on the show today.
Well, just last week, the NCAA Division I Council extended the recruiting dead period in all sports through January 1st. We thought maybe we'd get to see the end of it here in September, and it's been extended multiple times. But now, 2021. So, Cody, we've never seen anything like this at all. What was your initial reaction when you heard the news about the extension of the dead period?
You know, I think there's some relief on knowing from our end, you know, just as we plan, we're creatures of habit. We like to plan things out, and knowing that it wasn't an every month deal like it has been for so long here through COVID. But I know it's hard on our athletes not being able to see the campuses, getting out. A lot of them are still trying to make those decisions, and it's hard to make decisions without actually getting around the coaches and actually being around the players and being on campuses and getting that feel, because it's different than everything that we've done and gotten creative with, and to show them it's different than being in person. So it's been a lot of word of mouth. I know it's harder on the athlete, the student athletes, than it is us from that. It's hard for us trying to get some certain guys that we're still looking at, but it's real hard on them because they're trying to make those decisions, not just for 4 years, but the next it's a huge deal for them. So
no question. I've always said that deciding what school you want to go to is the most important decision in your life, other than maybe who you're going to marry. So we're in this weird world now where kids are having to make decisions often without making official visits and sometimes even unofficial visits, but it's given you guys as recruiters opportunities to kind of get creative. You already touched on a little bit here, but we have new words and new recruiting lingo that we never thought we'd have before, like virtual visits. So
right.
I'm not going to ask you to give away state secrets or how you guys do it every single step along the way in Arizona, but normally on Thursdays like this, you're probably scrambling to host unofficial visits or even a possible official visitor or two. So talk to me about how you guys kind of do this a virtual visit now.
Yeah. And, starting off early, I don't know if we were on the virtual visits early, like real early, like we waited, 3 or 4 weeks when everything shut down for a while. But Coach Sumlin and his leadership, he knew that, he knew there wasn't going to be visits, and we had to start getting creative. So through him, we were able to, we started, we started off, everybody uses the FaceTime, and we've been using that. So that was our first initial deal. And then Zoom popped in, and we were able to get pretty creative, thinking outside the box. It was awesome to see our whole staff get involved and come up with a good plan. Because we came up, the old, visits, you got 48 hours on the virtual visit, trying to keep these kids nowadays on a visit for an hour, 2 hours doesn't really work. And I know a lot of people do it differently. We came to find out that it's, let's give them little bits at a time, and we had a lot of success with that. I think doing this way where we would have, it was everybody's time early on. We got a chance to, I feel like we know the parents more nowadays than we ever have, because early on when we started these, they were out of work. Everybody was at home. So we had a good plan, I think, after we got, and we've adjusted it as we've continued to go. But we've noticed that kids, they don't like to be on there a whole, for a couple of hours. So we've shortened ours and given them, one day it'll be our strength coach. We themed the days out. So we had a theme for each day. It was a pretty good deal. And I think we had a lot of success for what we did. Our marketing, and our creative service team did a great job, because we had to use a lot more videos and try to create them seeing themselves here. So I think we did a good job with that.
We all know that visits are huge parts of the decision-making process. How the heck are recruits and families able to make their decision? Is this when you as coaches and recruiters need to go back to old school recruiting and really rely on your relationship building skills?
Yeah, I think so. I think, there's a lot we haven't seen the kids and they haven't seen us a lot. We had, we didn't have a junior day. February was all dead. And in March we got shut down pretty early, and we got 4 practices in. So we had a couple of kids come on campus, but we haven't had them on since early March. And so high school coaches were huge, getting to know, through them, what those relationships are big on what they thought about kids, because there was no camps, and being able to see guys and then just being able to get them on the virtual visits and find out more about them. Like we were trying to interact more on there, to not just, hey, here's what we're doing, boom, 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 but building those relationships face to face through Zoom and FaceTime and get them to know who we are and try to build relationships like that. I feel like it did go back old school where, we've been on the phone. Our coaches hadn't had football, and we've done a lot more recruiting, I think, than ever before. Not that we don't recruit daily, but I think we've been guys. They're not game planning. So we've been great building relationships. We've gotten to know a lot more about the kids, I feel like, than we have. Now word of mouth through high school coaches, which is big, and we may ask for a drill to be done and those kind of things, but I think just getting creative and showing them through videos. Kids like videos, and they're short and sweet, and getting them all that information about Arizona that we could get them, which, I think that's how the kids are making them. And you could see there right before the pandemic hit, the decisions were being made a lot faster than they ever have been. Kids were, I think, a little spooked and because there was words out, you're not ever going to be able to visit. And some kids have waited, but a lot of, more than ever, we've had more commits than I'm talking about in all of college football now than we ever have before.
Well, you touched on something right there a few seconds ago about the high school coach that I wanted to circle back to, because you and I have done this for a while now, and for a long time, the high school coach was the most integral part of the recruiting process. And as much as mom and dad were, but
Right.
we got to a point through social media, through the speeding up of the recruiting process, through being able, you guys to be able to now send direct messages to the prospects, that the high school coaches I talked to almost felt like they were cut out of the process. But now, because of the pandemic, because of the lack of these visits and the lack of face-to-face communication, sounds like the high school coaches are now back in this process and maybe as big a part of the process as they ever were before.
Yeah, I think you're right, Jeremy. They're when COVID hit and everybody was stuck at home, they were still able to talk to their team through virtual visits, or not virtual visits, but virtual Zoom calls on getting ready to go and making sure they're lifting and stuff. Where a lot of these kids weren't able to spend a lot of time with their trainers like they used to, travel to over to do, because a lot of everybody's got these trainers now and they're working with guys, and they, like you said, they've taken some of the place of the high school guys. But it's important to know the high school coach is there with the guy. He can tell you a lot about them, and we try to do our research on our guys as best as we can, making sure we find out through not just one person but multiple on this. But the high school coaches have been huge, and getting to know them, and I think this time has given us more time to build those relationships with them more over the phone, and because when you're out, when you're going on the road, it's it's a plan. You don't have time to hit every school in your area. But right now, we've had a lot of time and to build those relationships and talk to those coaches, and they've been beneficial because they were able to talk to the kid about, hey, how big really is he, coach? You get pictures of guys that got their own tape measures. The coach will measure a kid. They'll get pictures of them on the weight, the scale. So it's gotten they've done a good job on. And to be honest with you, I think a lot of coaches and a few here in the state have done a really good job of they've actually, the camps were canceled. So some of these bigger programs here have gone out and they video their kids going through a combine workout and stuff. They've done a good job of helping these kids, I think, try to the best way they can to try to still get them recruited, and some of them don't have any film right now, but you can see them through drills and that's not everything because you want to see them play the game, but a lot of these coaches have done a good job of getting their exposure of their kids out there through these little mini camps that they're doing on campus when they can and stuff. So I thought they've done a good job.
So I'm curious, and I hope this doesn't come off the wrong way here, but the Pac-12 is one of the few conferences that's not playing football right now. And again, I guess we should make this clear. We're taping this on September 24th, so things might change here in the coming days and weeks. Have you gotten any negative feedback at all from recruits about, hey, the Pac-12 is not playing and everybody else is? Have you guys gotten any feedback, negative or positive, about that?
Well, I don't know. Obviously, there's always negative recruiting going on. And, I think it makes it tough when you don't play and you see because kids sit there at home and they're watching the other conferences play and stuff. But, I think we've got great leadership here in Arizona, and we've done from a medical side on what they're doing to protect our players. And that's where our player safety is first. They've done a great job. And I think getting that message out and how we've been able to take care of our own players here on campus. And I think our recruits have seen that, the guys that we have committed currently, and they really believe in what we're doing here. And like you said earlier, hopefully things will change soon. And because everybody wants to play, I think it's hard to sit and watch everybody else. But I think we got a good plan. And but I haven't heard a lot of negativity about, like, from our guys that are committed to us. They've been bought in and they feel good about what we're doing, and the safety deal of us taking care of our players first. I think that's helped. Been the main thing. We're not trying to put our kids in jeopardy, and making sure that we do follow the steps to make sure things are. And everybody across the country, it doesn't matter if you go to any doctor, you can go. Each doctor is going to tell you something different. So that's what's going on right now, I think. But we haven't really got a lot of negative stuff. It's been a lot of positive because of the way we've taken care of our guys.
And that's one thing I've heard from high school coaches and from recruits that I'm talking to, is that I would have never thought that player safety has always been an issue, but in athletics, but it is now risen to where it's really high up on a prospect's minds and their families' minds, and it's something that honestly I probably thought you guys as recruiters probably have never had to really sell before, but now it's something it's a big part of what you guys have to talk about, isn't it?
It is, and I don't know if we have to sell it as much, but because that's who Coach Sumlin and our leadership is, and with our president and AD. But I think that we do take care of our players, so I think that it's something that we have to sell. So it's easy for us to just tell them, hey, we're taking our guys are safe. It's our players first, and that way they know. I mean, they know how we're not just going to throw them out there. Because you get a lot of talks about, all the money college football makes, and these kids that they want to be paid more, and we're not just throwing them out there. We're making, we're not just going off the cuff here. We're taking time to make sure we're doing what's right. And everybody's got their own opinion on that, but I think we've done it the right way, and taking, making sure we're putting the players first, and we're not just throwing them out there without having a good plan on that. And everybody, again, across the country's got their own plans and stuff, but we feel good about what we've done and on the protocol, taking care of our players. I think our players feel safe on what's going on, and that hopefully things will change and we'll get ready to roll there soon.
Yeah, trust me. I know you'd rather be out there getting ready to play a game on Saturday versus having to talk to me right now about safety protocol. So, Cody, just like the Pac-12, there are high schools all over the country that aren't playing high school football or have postponed their seasons until the spring. That would push it past both signing periods. So I'm curious from a recruiter's perspective on how you guys are handling evaluations. And I know that you guys already have 23 kids committed, and most high school seniors and most juniors have a lot of film out there, but there's still guys that were probably on your list or guys in future classes where you won't have film on. So how are you guys as evaluators deciding to make final calls and offers if there isn't film?
Right. Yeah. It's been hard because, we got a lot of guys that are senior eval type guys, and you like to see that senior tape, or kids that have been in camp. They might have done something one year in camp. They come back, and because guys, they get faster every year, or they can get slower, if guys gain a lot of weight and stuff. So camps are really big in our evaluation, and because we get to see them in person, and, they go through a lot of the stuff that position coach wants to see. And so they've been huge for us, and not having that's been, it's been an adjustment. So we've, I think the big thing is when, with the early signing day period taking place a few years ago, when you're out in January, it's important that, and we try to do this with our staff, just making sure that they're always on the next group of guys. Okay. They're going in to see, the senior that we're watching, but also they're peeking at what they have down the road. So we have good notes. They come back, give us that information, and obviously things change within a year. But if they did a good job of knowing these guys prior, not that we had all the film, but we had a lot of guys on the radar. Mm-hmm. And so that helped a lot, being able to coaches seeing a guy. I was at this game. I saw this guy last year. And obviously they changed and stuff. But the high school coaches have again touching on it. They've done a great job. We've had to rely on them. Coach, how big is he really? And then a lot of our for some of our coaches, they've got a few new areas, but a lot of them have been there. So when a coach sends you a picture beside this guy, and hey, that guy's probably a 5'11" guy. If he's taller, so you can get, he's not pulling your chain there. But the relationships are big, I think, with high school coaches, because when they tell you something, if they know you, you're going to get the right information. Mm-hmm. So I think that's critical. And that, like I said, some of these schools they've gone on to do some of these workouts and with their teams, and they've shot that out. And here's my team going through the drills you would do during camps, mm-hmm. running the 40, height and weight, vertical, all that stuff, and then going through certain drills and stuff. And then, if we needed something, kids were asking, how can I, what can I do to get, and, you tell them, hey, videotape your stuff. They would send stuff back into you. And kids were getting creative as well on what they were doing. And, they were having people shoot it for them. Moms and dads were shooting film of them running the 40. Obviously, you see a 40 and they can give you the time, but you can tell sometimes when a kid, if you do it long enough, on what kids are running, if it's pretty good and stuff. And but we relied on that, and I think that's been good to us. But it's hard that the guys that are on the fence, that don't have any film that you want to see this next season, we're not going to have that. So you go back and you just study the junior film as much as you can. You look back, with some of our, the services that are provided for us, and look at, camp footage from a year ago, stuff like that we go through and and just try to, look. We make those, good tapes and bad tapes. What we see, but it's hard because kids do get better every year, and they get better their senior year, and we're not going to get to see a lot of those kids play. But the good thing is we do got a lot of guys we feel good about in our class, and we're close to being finished. So that's the good thing. We still need some pieces, but we do feel good where we're at and on what we have.
I know we can't talk specifics here. Thank you, NCAA. But you guys have had quite a bit of success here during this quarantine period of the outbreak. Just looking from the outside in and reading all the reporting, looks like you guys have gotten almost all of your commitments in this class have happened since the coronavirus outbreak. And what can you attribute that success to? Is it getting kids on campus early for unofficial visits, and or is it something else?
Well, like I said earlier, we didn't have an opportunity. We had some of the young guys come to some games and stuff when they were younger. They've been on campus, but some of the kids haven't been on campus. So I think our staff's done a great job of the virtual side of getting to know each other through these virtual visits and showing them our campus. A lot of kids, honestly, have, and they're doing a lot of that now. Is they'll drive over. We can't have contact, but they're visiting campuses on their own. It's not the same, but they're getting to drive up, look at things, and we can't have contact with them there, or guide them through that. But it's a lot of them have done that just to see the place in person. But I think with our creative team and our coaching staff, just building those bonds and relationships over Zoom and FaceTime, that we've been able to. Because, like I said earlier, we were able to get with the parents, so the parents got comfortable with our staff, and I think our staff does a great job of building those relationships with the kids, finding out who the champion is, and we had more parents on than I've that we've had in a long time, and I think that and being able to show them different things, and it's different because it ain't on campus, but we had a lot of success, I think, because our coaches' personalities came out in these things, and we were able to get personable, and they got to meet everybody in our department, not in person, but through a Zoom or FaceTime, and we've been pretty lucky to do that. But I think credit to our coaching staff just building these relationships, and Coach Sumlin on just the ability to build those relationships with the kids, the parents, and they felt comfortable here, like they was part of the team. So.
That kind of amazed me that you said some of your kids haven't been to campus. That's we're in a different world when that happens.
Well, absolutely, and that's you worry about that to an extent. Like, well, if he gets here, and we tried to do it, show him everything that we could, put him in. And the big thing is we try to get a couple of our your players that are here on there, on there, and where our recruiting footprint is, we're very fortunate with some of the guys that we are recruiting. They have relationships with the guys that are on the team, and they hear back, and so that has helped us out a lot. With that our current players know some of these kids, and this is how it is here, and those kind of things. It's been beneficial for us.
So Cody, what also fascinated me about getting to visit with you today was your story and how you worked hard to get where you're at now with Coach Sumlin. It took you around, 15 years to get this opportunity at U of A, and you've been from one end of the country to the other, Auburn, A&M, Central Arkansas, Abilene Christian, Georgia Tech. You've been a position coach. You've been a recruiting coordinator. You've been an associate director of player personnel. And you were at Georgia Tech where you were the associate director of player personnel for a couple of years. And now you're in charge of a recruiting at a Power 5 program for the first time. Talk to me about that grind, and what's the message that you would want to send to other young coaches trying to make their way up the coaching ladder?
Yeah, Jeremy, I've been very fortunate. I started off playing Division II, football. I'm from a small town, and I didn't have a lot of contacts. And I was very, like I said, very fortunate. I called around the country to get my first start, and Jimmy Keeling at Hardin Simmons. That's where I first got started, Division III football. I wasn't a great player, so I I always I like building teams. Growing up, when I played Madden, I didn't really play the games as much as I love just trying to create the team. So that's always been a passion of mine, but I love the game of football and I played defense line. So I started out coaching early. I had an opportunity when I started at Hardin Simmons and then was very fortunate to get to Auburn, but I've been around some great coaches. And the mentors that I've worked with and learned a lot because like I said, I've been at every level. Started off Division III, then had a chance, got a break, went to Auburn, was there for 2 years around a phenomenal coaching staff that we had there, and then went on to A&M and different umbrella coaches. So I was able to learn from a lot of different people and how they did things, and as you're going through, you get frustrated, like, hey, I can't get that break. I was a GA, then I went on as a quality control at Auburn, then got on QC at A&M, and then got my first position job at Central Arkansas. And when I left A&M, Coach Sherman, he was like, you need to stay. But I felt like I couldn't ever get a break without doing it, coaching. And I went out, and when I was at A&M is when I really got into a lot of the recruiting there, because I always had a passion for it. And they put a mandate. We were around and helped out on campus what we could and stuff. And so that's where I really got started in it. And then I got my first position job at Central Ark, and we were pretty good. And then I was recruiting coordinator there, so I got to do a lot of this stuff, and I really loved it. Just the planning of it and getting creative, and I love the relationships with the players. You know what I mean? Getting out and getting to know each group, and getting to see those guys develop and grow as you bring those guys in, and the families. It's awesome. And had a chance to go, get a assistant recruiting job at Arkansas, and at the Power 5 level, and then that's where it kind of started for me. Like, this is really what I wanted to do. I've been coaching, recruiting there, and then I did leave Arkansas and took another coaching job, but then I was able to get back at Tech and in the personnel department. Knew that's where I wanted to be, and I was from Texas, so I took the Abilene job, and I had a great time there. But I think what's helped me out a lot is I've coached, been able to coach my own players and been on the road recruiting, and I got the perspective the coaches have. So I know what they need, what they're doing on the road, and what, so I think it's made my job a lot easier because I've been out there and done it. So I know what they are going to need and how things, every coach is different though. Everybody's got their own way of doing things, and that's great. But I have a perspective on, things because I've done it. So I think that has helped me out in a lot of areas, just, from evaluation, just being, in the rooms coaching, and then, in the personnel side of things. But it's been a long journey. I've been very lucky. My family, my wife is, because we have moved around and we've taken some risk early on, and it's rewarding early, but work ethic was installed in me early on. And I think if you work hard, it's hard though. It's easy for me to sit up here and say that's everything. If you work hard, things are going to happen. But because I've taken some steps, great one, and I've taken back to get back where you're going. But hard work has paid off for me, and I believe you can outwork people in this business. And I'm not saying that's everything, but I think you can outwork folks. And if you stay organized and just keep at it, and because it's not easy, it's been like you said, a long road. But the relationships I've been around, I've been very fortunate with the staffs and coaches that I've been around to learn from. And I think when Coach Selman gave me the opportunity to come here, I had a chance to now put it all together. Everything that I've learned for all these years and have a chance to do my own thing. It's been great. And when you go places, you buy into their philosophy and what they want to do. But it's been great to be able to put my own footprint on it and just have a chance to put everything that I've learned over the years and into play here. So I've been very excited. I love what I do. There's nothing else I would do. And, people, the hours get long and stuff. And, I got a family and people, but it's, even with COVID, you're out. You're like, it made you sick because there's nothing. What do you do? You're sitting out at home, and although we're working from the home, but I'm like, I couldn't do anything else right now. I missed it. Missed being around the staff, the interaction, the players, and it's been crazy through this pandemic. But we're excited to be back, and But I've been very fortunate though to
So, so let me ask you this. I mean, you mentioned Madden, and my eyes lit up there because I'm a NCAA football Madden. That I would. You and I seem to have some similar interests because I didn't care much about the games, playing the games, and putting the circle button to play this to make the guy spin. It was more about the recruiting aspect and the building of the franchises, and
yes.
that. Be honest, not many people aspire to be a general manager in recruiting or into recruiting. What was it about personnel that was so appealing to you?
I feel like just the ability to. Always thought it was cool to be able to put a product together and go out there on the field and watch them have success.
Mm-hmm.
And I love evaluating players. That's one of my my things I love to do is watching kids play and being able to critique them and project and see, and guys that that you don't even get through the years, and just you keep a list, hey, where are they at now? What do they do?
Mm-hmm.
And see where if a guy didn't pan out, what I said about him. And I just like that aspect on being able to evaluate kids and put a team together and what fits, whatever scheme we're running or philosophy. But it's been great to have that opportunity to do that. So, yeah.
It's different. I mean, it's different. And I read a story that was done locally on you that was right after you were hired. And there was talk of this binder or playbook that you put together from all your experiences. And you talked a little, I mean, yes, we're not going to give away state secrets or anything like that. But I mean, it sounds like your 15 years experience kind of allows you to put everything together and be ready for this opportunity.
Yeah, it does. Like I said, I think when guys go and be head coaches and things like that, that some of the guys that's taken them longer, they've been around and they've seen it for so many years. And when they get that opportunity, they're ready to roll. And I think because I've been able to take something from everywhere I've been, good, mm-hmm. bad, and but things change all the time. You got to, something that may have worked 7 years ago doesn't work today. And it's important to stay creative and on the cutting edge of things. And, but I have taken bits and pieces and put things together that I've liked on different things, whether that's, writing plans to, text, communication, all different kinds of things that I've learned from other people where I was at, coaches, that how they mapped out, their trips mm-hmm. in the spring, for all that stuff and combined it into one things that I liked. And so that when I get to a place like this, obviously everybody does their own thing, but if a coach comes in, he's like, hey, help me with the plan. I can kind of do it a way that I've done it, that gives them the information that helps them and makes their job a lot easier. And I think that's what I really believe in is, and it's college football is going that way. I always thought general manager, but I think, the more college goes on, the coaches are coaching and a lot of the personnel departments are finding players and although, they're the ones that got to coach them, but we're doing a lot of that legwork to help them out, make their job a lot easier. And I think that's where the college game is, I really like that more than trying to take that step to the next NFL level. I really love college football but I think that's has helped me out just from everywhere I've been, just having to take a little bit of something from this coach or that coach. And again, like I said, I continue to talk to people throughout the country, just, chopping it up on what's working. Like now with the pandemic, like early on, we started off with longer visits. We came to find out that the kids, he's not engaged as much and short. So things change all the time and everybody's doing things. We try to stay up to date and find out what works best for us. And it really depends on the type of kid, honestly, and what they're liking. And you got to try to find that out early and what he likes and
mm-hmm.
and be able to attack it that way. So but it has helped me, being around a lot of different coaches. Like I said, this is my 8th stop here, and I've learned something from everybody, and I've been around some great coaches and the staff that really molded me mm-hmm. Who I am today. So.
Well, speaking of high quality coaches, you're there with Kevin Sullivan now at Arizona, and I've visited with Kevin a number of times over the years, and I was sold right out of the gate with him and knew that he had that kind of it factor. But What impresses you most about Coach Sumlin as a recruiter? I mean, you've been around some great ones. What impresses you most about Coach Sumlin?
Well, I think he's personable he's genuine with our recruits. He's got kids of his own, so he's I don't say hip with the guys, but he relates to the players. I think he relates to the guys. A lot of guys you get around it, they may not relate to the kids. And the kids feed off that. We've got he's a hype guy at practice. We get things going, and he's innovative, want to be on top of things. But one thing that I really most when I first got here, not knowing Coach a whole lot just through people that I knew, but is he lets you do your job. He lets our coaching staff. I'm the recruiting guy. Whether you're coaching offensive line or you're the head of that position. So he lets you do your job and lets the people work. And I really like that because he's not a micromanager. He's very involved, but lets everybody on the staff do their job and help out and stuff. So it's been awesome to be around him because he's had one of the reasons why I came is, his track record, his success he's had throughout the years and building programs. And then as he's moved on and stuff, I've been very lucky and fortunate to be here and learn from him because he's put together teams, starting at Houston as a head coach, then to A&M, and then now here. And what we're trying to build here, I think we're doing what we're supposed to be doing as far as he's very highly. I like it. He's involved in the recruiting evaluations. A lot of places you offer everybody. It's like just position coach offer. But coach, we take our time here, and coach makes sure that he's very involved in our offer process and wanting to know who we're bringing in the program. And so I've learned a lot through that the video. Because I think he's a great evaluator. He's one of our best recruiters on staff, and the way he looks at things and sees and can compare through guys he's had in the past and where this guy could come out. It's been amazing to learn from him in that aspect. So
I tell you, we could do a whole podcast on the offering philosophy of different schools, and I like that approach where you are more smarter is not the right word, but more judicious about how you offer a prospect versus just blanket offering, which we see all over the country. That's a whole show in and on its own, Cody. So, but one last question before we let you go here. It's very obvious you're from Texas with your accent. I absolutely love it. I wish I had an accent like that. And you've been around high school football in Texas, and you've been around high school football in Georgia. But I've always argued that Arizona high school football is one of the most underappreciated areas in the country. And we've seen more and more talent come out of the state of Arizona each season. What have you guys done to establish strong relationships in Arizona, and just how competitive is the recruiting landscape in the state?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think anywhere you go, it's the number one thing you have to do is take care of your backyard. And I've been fortunate to be some places that high school football is king and everything. So, but I think Arizona, it's been great. I mean, I knew about the Phoenix area and just some other places, but being here, every year now, but the coaches, we have great coaches in the state of Arizona here, and the players, it's very highly competitive. And the recruitability, that's one thing that we're trying to do is get these kids to stay home and stay here. A lot of kids do move into Arizona, so they're not, they're not homegrown where it's, they grow up, it's the team up north in Arizona. So, but I think, we're trying to do, and I think we're off to a great start, on trying to get those kids, the 22 class, but coach has been here going on our third year here. We're trying to, it's number one to us is make sure we take care of Arizona and attract those kids and show them what we're trying to do down here and build, because they've all been here. They've been up north, and but the kids like to get out and see what else is out there. So we've been building relationships and trying to get the kids to stay home. And I think we're off to a great start, and we got to continue to build those relationships because there's a ton of talent in the state. I mean, you got teams from everywhere in the country coming to Arizona now, and we're doing our best, and coach is very involved in that and trying to make sure we keep these guys home, and it's coming. We're getting there. We haven't a lot of you read a lot of things. We haven't had the success in the state, but we are trying. We're really trying hard to make sure that we build those relationships and keep these kids home, because, and I think that comes with what you put out on the field and you know, the brand that you put out. I think that comes with time. It's not just going to happen overnight. And so we're putting together. We're off to a hot start in the 22 class, and I think that's 21. We've got not as many out of the state, but we're still on some guys there. But I think there's so much talent in the state that it's you don't have to go far. You know what I mean? But we got to continue to keep them home, and that's been our biggest.
You kind of just said, you kind of to insinuate how competitive it is in state recruiting against the up north team. I mean, that right there just kind of signals how competitive the landscape is recruiting in the state of Arizona when you have a rivalry like that, and then you throw in everybody else. I mean, so it's a unique state, isn't it?
It is very unique, and we back the team up north, but there's teams from across the country. I mean, everybody. I mean, from across the country's in Arizona recruiting, and but it's great to have your backyard, to have that much talent there. We got to continue working to keep them home. So.
Well, cool. Well, Cody, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to help us learn a little bit more about how you guys at Arizona are handling recruiting during the pandemic. But I'm also grateful you let me share a little bit more about your story from talking to coaches across the country. Many agree you're one of the game's rising young stars, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for you.
I appreciate that, Jeremy. I appreciate you guys having me on, and look forward to doing it some other time. So.
All right. Well, okay, folks. Well, we covered a lot in this episode of Over the Middle, but we're just getting started. We're going to continue to take a deep dive into the impacts COVID-19 has had on high school football, college football, and the recruiting process. We've got some great guests lined up to help you and help us continue to examine this new world that we're living in. I hope you'll be back with us again next week. I also hope you take some time to watch high school football games this week. Find games on your local radio station. Find games on your local television station. And if you live in the Yearview market, don't forget, we've got some great games lined up on Yearview. Head over to watch.yearview.com. That's watch.yearview.com. And you'll be able to watch some of the top high school matchups all season long. I'm Jeremy Crabtree. Thanks for listening to Over the Middle. Talk to you guys again next week.